अभय चरणारविंद भक्ति वेदांत स्वामी श्रील प्रभुपाद की जय। जय ओम विष्णुपाद परमहंस परिव्राजकाचार्य अष्टोत्तर शत श्री श्रीमद श्रील भक्ति सिद्धांत सरस्वती ठाकुर गोस्वामी प्रभुपाद की जय। अनंत कोटि वैष्णव वृंद की जय। नामाचार्य श्री हरिदास ठाकुर की जय। श्रीमद् भागवतम की जय। श्री वराहदेव की जय। निताय गौर प्रेमानंदे हरि हरि बोल। All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to the assembled devotees. Hare Krishna. All glories to Sri Guru and Sri Gauranga. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vikasa Swami Niti Namne. Namo Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Preshthaya Bhutale Srimate Bhakti Vedanta Swami Niti Namne. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschati Deshatarine जय श्री कृष्ण चैतन्य प्रभु नित्यानंद श्री अद्वैत गदाधर श्रीवासादि गौर भक्त वृंद। हरे कृष्णा कृष्ण कृष्ण हरे हरे, हरे राम 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 हरे हरे। ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय, ओम नमो भगवते वासुदेवाय। Reading from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 3, Chapter 13, titled The Appearance of Lord Varaha, Text 43. Kaha śraddadhītānyatamas anyatamaḥ tava prabho rasāṁ gatāyāḥ bhuvaḥ udvibarhaṇam na vismayaḥ asau tvayi viśva-vismaye māyayā idam sasṛje ativismayam. śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho, śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho, rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam, rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam, na vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye, na vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye, yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam, yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam. śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho, rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam, na vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye, yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam, śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho, rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam, na vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye, yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam, śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho, rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam, na vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye, yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam. Please repeat. śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho, rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam, vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye. Yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
na vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
vismayosau
Tvayi viśva-vismaye.
māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
Yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
Yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
Yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
śraddadhītānyatamas tava prabho.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
vismayosau tvayi viśva-vismaye.
yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam.
Yo māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam. Kaha. Who else? Śraddadhīta can endeavor. Anyatamaḥ, anyone besides yourself. Tava, your. Prabho, O Lord. Rasāṁ, in the water. Gatāyāḥ, while lying in. Bhuvaḥ, of the earth. Udvibarhaṇam, deliverance. Na, never. Vismayaḥ, wonderful. Asau, such an act. Tvayi, unto you. Viśva, universal. Vismaye, full of wonders. Yaha, one who. Māyayā, by potencies. Idam, this. Sasṛje, created. Ativismayam, surpassing all wonders. Translation purport by His Divine Grace Srila Prabhupada. Translation. Who else but you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could deliver the earth from within the water? It is not very wonderful for you. However, because you have acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe by your energy. It is not very wonderful for you, however, because you acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe. By your energy, you have created this wonderful cosmic manifestation. Purport. When a scientist discovers something impressive to the ignorant mass of people, the common man, without inquiry, accepts such a discovery as wonderful. But the intelligent man is not struck with wonder by such discoveries. He gives all credit to the person who created the wonderful brain of the scientist. A common man is also struck with wonder by the wonderful action of material nature, and he gives all credit to the cosmic manifestation. The learned, Krishna-conscious person, however, knows well that behind the cosmic manifestation is the brain of Krishna, as confirmed in Bhagavad Gita 9:10. Māyayedam prakritihi suyate sacharacharam. Since Krishna can direct the wonderful cosmic manifestation, it is not at all wonderful for him to assume the gigantic form of a boar and thus deliver the earth from the mire of the water. A devotee is therefore not astonished to see the wonderful boar, because he knows that the Lord is able to act far more wonderfully by his potencies, which are inconceivable to the brain of even the most erudite scientist. Om Ajnanatimmirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Pada Kamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagarjatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Naitha Shri Shakhan Vitamscha Shri Radhāya Shri Radhāya Pranay Vikritir Haladini Shakti Rasmad Ekatmana Vapi Bhuvi Pura Deha Bedam Gatautau Chaitanyakyam Prakata Maduna Tadvayam Chaikyam Aptam Radha Bhavadhiti Sulitam Naumi Krishna Swarupam Shri Radhāya Pranay Mahima Kidrisho Vanayaiva Swadhyo Yenadbhuta Madhurima Kidrisho Vamadiha Saukyam Chasya Madana Bhavata Kidrisham Veti Lobhat Tadbhavadya Samajani Sachi Garbha Sindho Harinduhu Shri Chaitanya Prabhu Mande Balopi Yatad Anugraha Tare Nana Matagraha Vyaptam Siddhanta Sagaram Narayanam Namaskrityam Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswati Vyasam Tato Jayamudire Yaswanubhavam Akila Shruti Saramekam Adhyatma Deepam Atititir Shitam Tamondam Samsarinam Karuneyaha Purana Guhyam Tam Vyasa Sunam Upayami Gurum Muninam Śraddadhītān यतमस तवा prabho rasāṁ gatāyā bhuva udvibarhaṇam na vismayo asau tvayi viśva-vismaye na māyayedaṁ sasṛje tivismayam. Who else but you, the Supreme Personality of Godhead, could deliver the earth from within the water? It is not very wonderful for you. However, because you acted most wonderfully in the creation of the universe, by your energy, you have created this wonderful cosmic manifestation. So, here, the different demigods and the different residents of the upper planetary systems, including the sages and everyone, they are all offering these prayers. And here, specifically, the wonderful nature of the Lord's creation, the universe, is described. So Prabhupada, without losing a chance to smash the scientists, immediately begins his purport with that. Harishwari Prabhu's Transcendental Diary, he relates, it's almost hard to find a day pass by, Srila Prabhupada not criticizing the scientists, because the scientists have caused such havoc. As it said here, the common man, when the scientists discover something impressive, to the ignorant mass, the common man without inquiry accepts such a discovery as wonderful. Now, whose fault is this? The common man or the scientist?
The scientist.
It's the scientist's fault?
Yeah.
Both of their fault. The common man has existed like this since time immemorial. Instead of being bewildered by some voodoo and some kind of funny tricks that people do in the past, he is now bewildered by the scientist. The common man's intelligence hasn't really changed much in that sense. In the sense that the common man is, the general common mass of people aren't, they're more simple, and being simple, that also means that they're not very intelligent. What does that mean, that they're not very intelligent? It means they're largely carried over by emotions. This is when we say in Vedas, when we say somebody is less intelligent, what we mean is actually that they're overcome by emotions. Now, it can also include people who are literally less intelligent. They just don't have the capacity to think. But most people think. It's just that they're largely carried over by emotions. And so what happens is, for most people, we get to this point a little later, but for most people, social, moral, and existential conditions determine their faith more than philosophical or analytical or logical reasons as to why things are the way they are. That is, people's faith are largely dependent upon their existing conditions. If whoever makes their existing conditions in their life good, they will have no hesitancy to worship such a person as God, or literally follow everything that they say and go along with it. So this is what happens, is that the scientist, he discovers something impressive, and it makes a difference in the common man's life. Discoveries that don't really make a difference in the common man's lives, people aren't really concerned about that. Like, they may read about how the scientists are maybe doing this CERN experiment in Switzerland, and they're bombarding particles and trying to find the quark. And it may seem all like wonderful, but that is not so much the reason why people place faith in scientists. They place faith in scientists because they've got the car, they've got the plane, and it makes a difference. Wow, I look at that plane. It's something that they can see, something that they can perceive. And the scientists are rascals because they use this to do what? To claim themselves, or to replace the position of God. So Prabhupada, he uses his word, he says in the next line, but the intelligent man is not struck with wonder by such discoveries. So you have three people mentioned here. You have the scientist, you have the common man, and then you have the intelligent man. Interesting that the intelligent man and the scientist aren't clubbed together. Prabhupada he uses three people. There's the scientist, there's the common man, and then the intelligent man. Why? Because according to Bhagavad Gita, you have the common man who's just basically, he's foolish, nothing much, nothing more than that. But the scientist, what is he? Māyayedaṁ. He has intelligence, but his intelligence is stolen by illusion, stolen by Maya. And then you have the intelligent man. Who is the intelligent man? Yeah, he is the intelligent man because he surrenders to Krishna. That the intelligent man recognizes Krishna's existence. And as Prabhupada says here, he gives all credit to the person who created the wonderful brain of the scientist. So, going back to yesterday, we were discussing about the moon landing and things like that. So, one of the arguments you'll see is that they spent approximately about $280 billion on the Apollo missions that so-called put the man on the moon. So one of the arguments is, you think people would spend so much money and that would all just be a lie? Now, the thing is, you have to consider, okay, how can we logically, so then, if you say yeah, and then you don't, when you say that, other people say it's just so dogmatic. There's conspiracy theorists, and they're just like dumb people who don't have anything to do and sit on the internet and post TikTok videos about how the world is being conquered by the reptilians or. So now, if you look at it, they spent $280 billion. Okay, what else have people spent? And okay, so then why are they able to put man on the moon right now? There's literally a video that popped up recently on YouTube, and I thought, okay, let me watch this. Why? Because the video. Why can't we put man on the moon right now? And it wasn't like, it was like some channel that was supposed to scientifically explain things. So I thought, okay, let's see what they say. And the reasoning is, there's not enough budget for this. Back in the day, they gave enough budget for this, and most of the people who developed all the technology back in the day are either dead or they are too old and they're not really interested in doing all this anymore. And technology has advanced so much that we can't really use those old computers and that old stuff because we have to retrofit everything, and that's too expensive, so we can't use those missions. And well, the main reason is now we don't just want to go to the moon and just come back. We want to go to the moon and we want to be able to do something more. So it's a bigger mission now, and so it takes more time and it takes more effort. But the problem is the US government isn't interested in supporting this anymore. That's where you really get the cue. So the US government isn't really interested in supporting this anymore. And there's not enough money, because that time we were able to spend $280 billion. And there's just not enough money to do this. Why isn't there enough money? And that's where he comes there. They admitted themselves. Because that time back then it was the space race. It wasn't so much about what we were going to do on the moon. It's just that we just had to go to the moon before Russia did. And there you get the motivation as to why these people actually wanted someone to go to the moon. It wasn't a giant leap for mankind. It was that America had to do something that Russia didn't do. Had nothing to do with mankind. What, Russians are not humans? No, so then the guy in the video actually makes an interesting point. He said, well, you see, there was a lot of political things at stake. What was at stake? Because back then, right after World War II, this was period after World War II, there were many countries that were gaining independence, and they were deciding which superpower to align themselves to, and also choose their political ideologies. Are we going to choose communism? Are we going to choose democracy? What has all this got to do with science? Nothing. What it basically meant was it was just about political power for the United States. That the more countries that chose democracy and chose the US dollar for world trade, the more powerful the United States became. Oh, but they spent $280 billion. You think it's all just a lot? Well, what else did the United States, what else does the United States spend that much money on? Let's look. Okay? The post 9/11 wars, all of the wars that happened post 9/11, right? How much did they cost the taxpayer? Oh, the taxpayer, by the way, paid an average of $1,500 to so-called put the man on the moon. Now, remember, they put the man on the moon at a time when there wasn't even cell phone networks or anything like that. Such thing didn't exist. But they managed to talk to people on the moon. Like Neil Armstrong was talking to them on the moon. I was like, really amazing. And it's quite amazing, because right now I go and tour some farm property and I can't call anybody. But anyways, the army always had such amazing technology. What did they do post 9/11? How much did they spend money on wars in Afghanistan, Iraq, and other places? $5.8 trillion. Okay, $5.8 trillion was what was spent. The F-35 fighter jets, to manufacture 2,000 F-35, approximately 2,000 F-35 fighter jets, cost $2.1 trillion. In comparison to build the entire interstate highway system in the United States cost $459 billion. Okay, now you can understand that the highest budgets are war. And here's the thing. What the NASA space program was actually a wartime program. It was just a peacetime war program. That's contradictory. It's like oxymoronical. It's just like peacetime war. But the reason is that it was worth it. It was another form of war. There's different kinds of war. There's psychological war. There's biological war. There's there's cyber warfare, and there's trade wars. And then there's real wars. And so there's all kinds of warfare. And this is one of them. So it's not, it's just they spent money on wartime because it was worth it. They needed to spend money. They literally needed to do something. And that's the whole point, that if you see the motivation, and that's what it takes to the intelligent man, because the intelligent man looks at the motivation of these people. that their motivation is one thing, but on the TV they talk as if the humankind has made a great thing, and we've made great scientific discoveries, and this is the next frontier, and then after that you get, and what's all this? Then Hollywood tops it up, and Cartoon Network tops it up, and then you have all these cartoons of, what's that famous cartoon? You have the Flintstones, the Jetsons. And it's like, now we went to the moon, so we're going to be, everybody's going to have a personal jet that they can drive on. There's going to be highways flying between. And this is the kind of hype that they do. But what is their actual motivation? The motivation is trade. The motivation is the trade war, the US dollar, the US being the superpower, and trying to collapse the Soviet Union. That's what Soviet Union was trying to do. That's it. It's as simple as that. It has nothing to really do with scientific discovery. It just shows we are so powerful. Even the Indian space program that just did, they put the Chandra. Why? India is a power to be reckoned. We have so much money that we can go and blow it on this thing. So don't try to do a war with us. And it shows the other nations who are nearby, okay, come on. Don't side with China, side with us. Because we can create problems. We have enough money to create problems in your country. There is a lot of psychological messages. There is one message that goes to the public, there's another message that goes to the world leaders. The intelligent man is going to look at, who is this really for? And after all the show, who is this really for? So, that's the problem. That when the scientists discover something impressive, the common man, without enquiry, there's no enquiry. What is that? There's I can't remember. It ends with follow the money. There's a saying that not when all else fails, when you can't really understand something, when you don't know the motivation or something like this, follow the money. So, when in doubt, something like that. I don't know. But anyways, that when you can't understand somebody's motivation, when you can't understand exactly, or you want to understand what they're really doing, follow the money. Follow the money. Understand. Because put your money where your worth is. So that you're going to put your money. You're going to put your money there in a place that you think it's going to be worth it. And that's where so many of the problems in the United States could have been solved if they were willing to spend on domestic affairs, but they don't. And in fact, the argument that they would say is that if we spend on domestic affairs, we won't exist anymore. We're going to fight all these wars so that the United States has freedom. Anyways, and what happens is they uphold a system that perpetrates their position in power. This is the whole point. And who is in position in power? The scientists. The scientists are backing up these politicians and these rich capitalists and the rich people who, what is the ultimate goal? They want to remain powerful and they want to remain rich. And why is Srila Prabhupada attacking the scientists, and why does Vedic culture emphasize austerity? Because austerity and why has Vedic culture or Vedic civilization or generally more spiritual civilizations not been so interested in economic development? Because the truth is, when you do this kind of economic development, what you end up happening is you put a few people in power. This is what happens. You get a lot of selfish people who can make a ton of money because all this economic development. And then what happens? These selfish people, in order to stay in power, would stop at nothing. Even denying the existence of God is not too far a thing for them. Forget denying the existence of God, they can kill entire populations in the world. This is nothing surprising. It's found, animals also vie for power, so humans also do so. And the point is that when you have a civilization that is held up with artificial necessities, whereby you need to buy things, and then you have an entire network where there is so much trade and commerce and all of these things going on, then you need these scientists. So the scientists, they not only discover, okay, they make these discoveries, but what do they also do? They make it mandatory for you to have it. This is what the government ends up doing, right? Let's say we want to establish a temple on our farm. Are public going to come? Yes, of course, the temple is meant for the public. Okay, now you need to have an air conditioner, you're going to have a sprinkler system, you're going to have a fire alarm system, you're going to have this, that. And all those discoveries are made by scientists. So what happens is, your environment, you're surrounded by their discoveries. And the wonders that you keep seeing in life is how the latest iOS has a glass, the new glass theme, or liquid glass theme. And so look, so when you, in the previous time when you pressed a button it didn't shine, now if you press a button it shines. So this is, whoa, just see, so amazing, it feels so amazing. And the unintelligent common man is struck by wonder, by these things. And he's not struck with wonder. If the common man, because the common man is awestruck by a lot of things, if he is more in nature, he's going to be naturally awestruck by seeing things in nature, but you don't see them. Even the nature that the scientists would like to see you is very curated. You see it in the zoo, you see it in the aquarium, you see it on Nat Geo, you see it, this is where you see it. This is the only places you get to see it. And so then they explain the wonder to you. You can't just see the wonder by yourself. And you don't have to, first of all, you don't have time in your life. You get to work 3 jobs, so where the hell are you going to see the wonders in life? The greatest wonder you can see is how you can, drive by McDonald's, look at that screen, push a button, and then by the time you drive over, your meal is popped right up. That's wonderful. So this is your life. And this is the life of the common man. And it's been curated in this way such that the common man cannot even be struck by wonder when he sees natural things. And then when he sees natural things, he's enough brainwashed, because the whole school system and everything, you're observed to see natural wonders in a certain way. You're going to see it only in that regard. And the emphasis is, man is so powerful. We are so great. The scientists are so great. And you would see that. Even I remember one of the funny articles that came in New York Times, it was like that when so during COVID time, that when the protests were happening, the Black Lives Matter protests were happening and things like that, there were questions raised by people. You're talking about social distancing, but you're also okay with Black Lives Matter protests. At that time, the COVID won't spread. And so there was literally a New York Times articles. Experts say what is harmful is determined by the different circumstances that play in human society. And who are these experts? There's no, it's just experts say. And a bunch of people read that and they're like, yeah, the expert says that. So they don't know, the people just use experts. And I've seen that oftentimes, news articles. Scientists have this. Which scientists? Who? No inquiry, nothing. Scientists, they said, that's all. Who is scientist? It's nothing. So, and that's how they give credibility. They give credibility that, you see, if we created the iPhone, if we created the TV, if we created the car and the plane and things like that, then everything that we're saying about what's happening out in the universe and how we're saying that, Mars is like this and the moon is like this is all true. This is all true. And yes, we will believe it because we're looking at that. That's all we see. That's how we've been brought up. And, so for instance, I was looking at some things in this. So this book, Bhakti Vikas Maharaj really likes this book. He actually wanted us to distribute it, but we're not able to get it printed. Huh? I know, we emptied the stock and they won't print anymore for us. So we tried to get the BBT. If you can try to get the BBT to print this and we can put it in the Sapta, Guru Maharaj will be very happy. Because this book is absolutely fantastic. Why? Because it gives you examples of wonders in nature that scientists cannot explain through their silly ideas of evolution. I wanted to show a few of them here, because so we'll see this. Okay, this is a grass snake. What does a grass snake do when it's in danger? The grass snake acts like it's dead.
Wow.
So you'll see what it does. Instagram. Oops. So you see, he flips it and then acts dead. And he flips it. It opens. See how it opens its mouth? So when you flip it, you put it back in position, it goes flips itself back again. So the argument, see? So basically the argument that the arguments that the devotees here in this book they make, this is actually written by devotees, that they say is that, you see, the snake is doing this because it's trying to avoid getting detected. It doesn't want to be eaten, just, it wants to be left alone. So when it senses danger, it flips itself upside down, opens its mouth, and acts like that. Now, the thing is, if it were that intelligent to understand what others perceive as danger, now when you actually literally flip it, you put it back in place, it shouldn't flip back again. Because it's already exposed. There's no point. Now what you need to do is you need to run away. But instead it flips itself back and lies again like that. So, the scientists say that this was, at one point, somehow some of the snakes got an idea. What idea did they get? They got an idea that, hey, if we play dead, then we're probably going to be left alone. So, somehow or the other, they managed to pass that information down to their children. It's so hilarious because parents cannot get their children to accept what they want to do. And here it is that animals, somehow or the other, they have a desire. Right? In US society today, it's a big problem about how children are being raised. Children are being groomed to be whatever, transgenders, this, that, and it's a big debate about what's allowed, what's not allowed. But according to your stupid evolution theory, there should be no problem. There should absolutely be no issue at all, because that's how we came, right? That's how we came. You can't even pass a freaking ideology around. You don't know how to. How is this? It's absolutely absurdity. And here's what the argument that the devotees here they make in this book. They say that if this was a step-by-step evolution and this was something that they had naturally gained, then these snakes should also realize that, hey, I think playing dead now doesn't make sense, especially once you get exposed. We should probably make changes, but they don't make changes. They flip right back. Another thing here, this is an anglerfish. It lives in the depths of about 2,000 feet under seawater. There's no sunlight that reaches there. And what it does is it has this bioluminescence bulb on top of it. And this attracts other little fish and things like that. And then it's got these sharp teeth and it just eats them. So, according to evolution, this would have to be developed gradually. The point is, unless it's actually this, it would attract nothing. It would attract nothing. Gradually, how can you gradually develop this? You need to have it, and here's the other thing. It should have developed in tandem while other creatures, and somehow the other creatures, this is still surviving. The other creatures haven't learned that they shouldn't get attracted to this bulb. There is no sense in their arguments. There's absolutely no sense. Okay, here's another thing. This is a poisonous frog that has eyes on its back. So when it lies like this, it looks like the back is staring at you. This is one of the ways in which the frog avoids being eaten, because the predators are generally not favorable to they don't want to eat their prey when the prey is facing them, because the prey can attack. So they try to always attack their prey when the prey is running away or facing the other side, like that. Now, how would this frog develop these eyes gradually? Because if you gradually develop, like there's so many other spots on its thing. If you gradually, there would be no use to it. That evolution doesn't make sense. It just doesn't make sense at all. But this is how scientists will explain. Here's another one. What does this look like? It's a frog. What does it look like? No. Bird, yes, bird droppings. If you've been fortunate enough never to be pooped on by a bird, then you might have not have realized that this is exactly how bird poop looks like. In India, many times you have the unfortunate reality of being pooped on by crows. It's very common, or pigeons. So it's literally like this. Now this frog has camouflaged its color is like this, that it goes and lies itself so that the birds, which actually are its predators, won't eat it because it looks like its own droppings. Now again, the argument is that at no stage of evolution, until it actually looked like bird poop, could any of that evolution made any sense. And somehow, one generation after another generation of frogs convinced their descendants that, hey, doing this is someday going to get us free from being eaten by birds. And here humans aren't able to convince their descendants of nothing. There's so many problems in trying to convince. I mean, we all know how are we with our parents and how different we are to our parents. So it's this kind of evolution theory absolutely makes no sense. But this is what the scientists say. So anyways, what do world leaders think? World leaders, I was surprised. Recently, the leaders of China, Russia, North Korea, and others met. They had a military parade to show their power against some other powerful people in the world. And there was a hot mic. So there was a discussion that was caught. What was happening? One world leader was telling another world leader while they're walking, human organs can be continuously transplanted. The longer you live, the younger you become, and you can even achieve immortality. In response, one of the leaders, I won't name their name, can be heard responding in a certain language. Some predict that in this century, humans may live 150 years old as they are progressing towards immortality. These are world leaders. These are real world leaders. And this is a hot mic that caught the recorded conversation. That world leaders today are still thinking that they can actually achieve immortality. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it fantastic? So, who is the fool and the fool? See, the one thing is, the world leaders think that they've got the scientists under their thumb. The scientists, through their philosophy, think they've got the world leaders under their thumb. Look, they're going to keep giving us, money for us to do our research so that they can achieve immortality. And yeah, of course, the world leaders are powerful so they can collect the tax dollars and give it to us. And this is how the vicious cycle of illusion continues in the world. It's so amazing. I couldn't believe it that today, in today's day and age, such world leaders actually think that they can still be immortal. And guess what? These people are older. At least they're 60 years old, maybe 60 plus at least. They're old men, actually. And there they are thinking that they can be immortal. Amazing. So this is the thing, that they think they can mimic processes and feel, they mimic natural processes and feel like they're God. They just feel that, yes, we can mimic. Yes, it is possible to have test tube babies. So you can have, you can artificially, that was also mentioned yesterday in class, that, you can have artificial wombs. You can have babies. You can also artificially generate, sperm. And there's also scientific discovery, because you just have to mimic. You can mimic all the different organs, right? There's dialysis, which is nothing but the kidney function that's outside. You have heart, what's that? heart pumps, something like, they call it something, I forget. Pacemaker. So you have pacemakers that basically do the function of the heart. And this is what scientists think. That you see, we've mimicked all these different organs. We'll put all of them together. Voila, the person lives immortal. So foolish. So foolish. And people follow them and believe them. That this can actually happen. Because they will never understand that the spirit soul is actually what is operating this body. And that the super soul operates this universe. And there's a nice saying that is generally said in India quite often. It's called vinasha kale viparita buddhihi. That when the time for destruction is imminent, you have viparita buddhi. Your intelligence works in a manner that will cause your own destruction. And in Mahabharata, Udyoga Parva, 127:17, describing Duryodhana, Vidura says to Dhritarashtra, Nasa sannādhati yatā sanādhati yatā, na sannādhati tam naronyaha, viparitam cha manyate yad ishtam tadhi tasya vinashaya sannādhati. He does not heed the advice as it is given, nor another man's counsel sways him. He considers perverse what is desirable, and that indeed leads to his destruction. And Mundaka Upanishad says that living in the abyss of ignorance, yet wise in their own conceit, the deluded go round and round like the blind led by the blind. So this is what happens, that you have those who are deluding and those who are deluded, but actually those who think they're deluding others, they're deluded themselves. This is it's the vicious cycle of illusion that traps, and that's why I'm saying, like, people think, oh, these world leaders, they're very powerful, they're all sitting there scheming, and the Illuminati is over there, and the world powers are taking control, they've got everything, they know everything that they're doing, they know what you had for breakfast, la 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 la, but they're in illusion too, because what are they speaking? They're thinking they're going to be immortal. This is how they get cheated. This is how Maya, the illusory energy of Krishna, cheats them. But they don't know, because they don't have any ability. How can they perceive what is Krishna's illusion if they can't even perceive that Krishna is the cause of different wonderful things in this material universe? Rather, they have surrounded themselves with their so-called created wonders, and they are completely deluded, thinking that they have the laws of material nature under control. What is the solution to rain? We're going to cloud seed. They think as long as you figured out all the natural processes, we can bend and twist it to our advantage. So, this is in Bhagavad Gita, somebody can cast now. 10:16. So Arjuna asked Krishna, Vaktum arhasya sheshena divyahyatma vibhutayaha yabhir vibhutibhir lokan imam stvam vyapya tishtati. Please tell me in detail of your divine opulences by which you pervade all these worlds. So Arjuna is asking Krishna. Why is he asking Krishna to describe all his different opulences? He's asking this because so go to the next verse. Katam vidyam aham yogim stvam sada parichintayan keshu keshu cha bhaveshu chintosi bhagavan maya. O Krishna, O Supreme Mystic, how shall I constantly think of you? How shall I constantly think of you? And how shall I know you? In what various forms are you to be remembered, O Supreme Personality of Godhead? So, the purpose that Arjuna is asking this is because he wants to think of Krishna always. How do you be Krishna conscious? So Arjuna is asking, I want to be Krishna conscious. How am I supposed to always think of you? So this is the question that Arjuna is asking. And Prabhupada says in the purport that, he says that, as stated in the previous chapters, the Supreme Personality of Godhead is covered by his Yogamaya. So there's illusion. The scientists, the other people, they can't see Krishna. It's just going, okay. He can't see Krishna. They can't see Krishna. They are deluded by illusion. Only surrendered souls and devotees can see him. Okay. But we are in the process of becoming surrendered. We are in the process of being devotees. So how are we supposed to see him? So go to the end of the purport. Prabhupada says, the common man who has no love for Krishna cannot always think of Krishna. Therefore, he has to think materially. Right? So we have to think materially. How to think that? The words Keshu, Arjuna is considering the mode of thinking of the materialistic persons of this world. The word Keshu Keshu cha bhaveshu refer to material nature. The word bhava means physical things. Because materialists cannot understand Krishna spiritually, they are advised to concentrate the mind on physical things and try to see how Krishna is manifested by physical representations. This is the point, that once we see how Krishna is manifested through physical representation, we start to think of Krishna always, and we become Krishna conscious. We develop love for Krishna. So, okay, going to text 1133. This is universal form. Krishna in his universal form is speaking to Arjuna. After showing him, what is he showing him? He's showing him that the Pandavas are going to be victorious. And all the warriors on the battlefield are going to die. And he shows him the entire universal form, shows him all the demigods worshipping him, everything like this. So there, Krishna tells to Arjuna, Tasmat tvam uttishta yashola bhasva jitva shatrun bhungshva rajyam samruddham māyayevaite nihataf purvam eva nimitta matram bhava savyasācim. Therefore, get up, prepare to fight and win glory, conquer your enemies and enjoy a flourishing kingdom. They are already put to death by my arrangement, and you, O Sabyasachi, can be but an instrument in the fight. So, Prabhupada says here that in the purport, foolish persons. So, okay, let's go ahead. The whole world is moving according to the plan of the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Foolish persons who do not have sufficient knowledge think that nature is moving without a plan and all manifestations are but accidental formations. There are many so-called scientists who suggest that perhaps it was like this or maybe like that, but there is no question of perhaps and maybe. There is a specific plan being carried out in this material world. What is this plan? This cosmic manifestation is a chance for the conditioned souls to go back to Godhead, back to home. As long as they have the domineering mentality which makes them try to lord it over material nature, they are conditioned. But anyone who can understand the plan of the Supreme Lord and cultivate Krishna consciousness is most intelligent. The creation and destruction of this cosmic manifestation are under the superior guidance of God. So, the point here is that there is a plan, but people don't understand that plan. Those who are materialists, those who are materialistic, they have their plan. And this is the difficulty that we also face in our lives. That as aspiring devotees, we have our plans. And yes, as aspiring devotees, we try to plan in a manner that is pleasing to Krishna. But we have to understand that we do have a nature where we want to execute our plans. And what does that plan come from? As long as we are conditioned, Prabhupada says here, we have the domineering mentality which tries to make us lord it over material nature, that we want to bend things according to our plan. And that spills over also within devotional service. It can spill over in devotional service, that we try to bend things. We try to, and why? Because we are less intelligent. We are driven by emotions more than intelligence. When we're driven more by emotions less than intelligence, then we do stupid things. We say stupid things. We do stupid things. And then what happens? We suffer. We suffer. We make other people around us suffer. And the mission also suffers. The mission of Prabhupada also suffers. Because personal ambition. You get bitten by personal ambition. It may seem it's not personal ambition. But you're having your plan and want to execute your plan. And what is that? It's ambition. What else is it? Ambition doesn't just mean having 40 people wash your lotus feet. That's not the only definition of ambition. Ambition is that I have a plan and I am not willing to consider whether Krishna is okay with this plan or not. And I will go to any length to fulfill my plan. And if I use Krishna on the way, so be it. If I use a shalagram to worship and get money and later use the same shalagram to crack nuts, so be it. So I can use Krishna also. And that is the kind of demons that Krishna describes in chapter 16. That they execute sacrifices for the sake of prestige only. What is that verse? Yajante nama yajyeste. So it is simply out of prestige. So what will they not use? What scripture will you not use? What word of Srila Prabhupada will you not use? What principle of devotional service will a conditioned soul not use to further his own agenda at the expense of the pleasure of Guru, Krishna and the Vaishnavas? So this is what we need to be very careful about. That it's important to see how Krishna is involved, and that's why this chapter is important. And as practicing devotees, it is very important for us to understand that we have to see how Krishna is acting. And if we don't understand that everything is acting according to Krishna's plan, we are put with certain people with Krishna's plan, and that's the whole thing. Like even when we're distributing books or we're doing a particular service, we have to see Krishna's hand in that. And the more we see Krishna's hand, just like yesterday, Janardhan Krishna Prabhu was saying this nice story of how somebody was reading some Bhagavad Gita as they were entering into a convention. But what do we see? Krishna placed her there. And Krishna, by Krishna's mercy, by Krishna's will, we happen to be there. It's Krishna's mercy that somehow we are engaged in this wonderful act. It has nothing to do with our glory. It is not that it is because of our wonderful intelligence that I chose the right spot. I am this fantastic person. I am this great preacher and I did my instruction and I told him and therefore he became purified and like this. And you don't see Krishna's hand. You don't see Krishna's hand. We have to see Krishna's hand in everything. Then we can see Krishna's hand in reversals in our life also. Otherwise it's very difficult. And so this to see that and then to understand Krishna can do wonderful things. Yes, his devotee Bali Maharaj got cursed by Shukracharya that he was going to lose everything. But Krishna fulfilled that curse and then gave Bali Maharaj everything. He gave himself. He gave Bali Maharaj all the more opulence than Bali Maharaj even had before then in the Sutala planet. How Krishna can act wonderfully is that, but the devotee has faith in Krishna. Because he understands all this, even the curse of this is all Krishna. This is all Krishna. Nothing is happening by chance. I have to sincerely, right now, how should I act in this particular circumstances, in this particular situation? How can I please Krishna? How can I please Guru? How can I please, and how can I make sure that it's not my agenda that I'm really trying to force? And there are plenty of, it's actually not that difficult to understand that. There's enough science in our devotional service to understand. There you have Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. And sadhus are not just the previous acharyas. Prabhupada wanted us to regard devotees around us as also sadhus. What are they? Loafers? Devotees around us are also sadhus. They gave up everything. They're chanting Hare Krishna. How many people wake up in the morning, chant Hare Krishna, 16 rounds, spend 2 hours chanting the holy name? What kind of people are they? It's not normal. We have to, when we're not Krishna conscious, which means we don't understand Krishna's role, then we don't understand anything. And in that regard, so in this Vinasha Kala Viparita Buddhi, I had something else more, but I'm going to read this quote. I'll end there. This is from Gaur Govinda Maharaj's book, where he speaks about the worship of Sri Guru, Guru Vandana. And Gaur Govinda Maharaj writes, so he speaks first, he talks about, Acharyas say that to render pleasing service to Radha Krishna, there are 7 things in this world that one should develop attachment for. The Guru, Goshtha, means devotees. Vrajadham, Dham Bhashi, the residents of Rajabhumi, Vaishnavas, Brahmanas, Naam Kirtan, Mantras Charan, receiving mantra in disciplic succession. The bona fide Guru practically demonstrates this by his own life. He is a servant, Sevaka, Bhagavan. He is very intimate, very dear associate of Krishna. But, this is what I wanted to read, but there is one danger. If a devotee thinks, oh, I am rendering pleasing service to Krishna, then the result will be completely opposite. Viparita phala. You may not consciously want to think this way, but unconsciously it comes. This material sphere is such a dangerous situation. One who thinks or tries to show off that he's a Vaishnava, that he's a devotee engaged in service, he will develop pride. Damba. Amazing. That when one thinks that he's a Vaishnava, and he thinks that he's going to show up, I'm a Vaishnava. I'm such a wonderful devotee. I'm such a great devotee. Why are you all not following me? Then you will develop pride. Develop dhamba. My opinion, this is fool number one. Then the Bhagavad Gita describes this pride as a demoniac quality. Dambo darbo bhimanascha. Pride is not a quality of a devotee, but is a quality of this world. Dreadful, nasty, material world. Therefore, Srimad Bhaktisiddhanta Goswami Prabhupada Maharaj has said that this material world is not a fit place for any gentleman to live. Hare Krishna. Any questions or comments? Yeah.
So I have a question. So in the end, you're just talking about pretty much that we may have like a plan or a direction we want to go in life, and we think that's Krishna conscious, but it's not Krishna conscious.
No, not that one cannot have plans at all.
Yeah, we work like a mission.
Yeah. Again, it is natural to make plans. I just want to clarify this. It's not that we don't have any plan at all. We should desire, we have plans. But those plans have to be Krishna conscious, which means that we have to understand the statement of Bhagavad Gita that the fifth cause in chapter 8, was that verse? Daivam chaivatra panchama. That ultimately the will of Krishna needs to be there for the plan to go forward. And when that isn't there, when one wants to execute a plan even against the will of Krishna, which again the will of Krishna is demonstrated through Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. Ignoring all of this, one still proceeds with one plan, finished.
So my question is that, so as far as Sadhu goes, so just like, for instance, in the life of Srila Prabhupada, at one particular point, he was anxious to go and preach and such.
Yeah.
And one particular godbrother, who's a sadhu, told him that unless you preach in my mud.
Yeah. Oh, practically all of his godbrothers, according to Srila Prabhupada, everybody nobody was supporting him.
So anyways, my question is, sometimes we may have a desire to serve Krishna in a particular way, but then, our godbrothers or association, they say don't do that.
Yeah.
And so it can seem like, you're being the point is that you may be convinced and be right, or you may be convinced and be wrong.
It's possible. The thing is, in that case, the sadhu also includes the predecessor acharyas. So, compared to his god brothers, the predecessor acharyas were greater sadhus, and their opinion is what Srila Prabhupada rightfully took. He rightfully took the opinion of Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Vinod Thakur, who wanted this to happen. And in that way he ignored, and in that way he did follow sadhu, but he followed the words of a higher sadhu, which is always a principle. Our god brothers may say one thing, but if the Guru asks us to do it, then we should consider the words of the Guru, or we should consider which sadhu, who is saying. And all that requires some level of sincerity. And that comes from not being prideful, to be humble. To be humble, truly humble, means that one is willing to consider arguments and circumstances and opinions that could be against one's own conviction. But he's willing to actually think it through.
The Buddha mentioned in the first section there that Guru Maharaj defines that to understand Srila Prabhupada's mission, it actually requires the mercy of Srila Prabhupada.
Yeah.
So it requires, you mentioned that it requires sincerity to be able to receive that knowledge. Because what can happen also is with that kind of thing that I will accept only the word of the Guru, because the Guru said that, it can also become this thing where I will only accept the words of the Guru and not the sadhus. And so then it becomes funny also.
There's a full check balance. You have Guru, Sadhu, Shastra, and then you also have Aitihya. You have tradition also, which is the fourth pramana. And generally, if one is humble enough, these four are more than sufficient to understand what should be done, what should not be done. And if there is anything that is difficult beyond all of this, because we're in an ever-changing world faced with modern circumstances that you don't have Aitihya for, Guru's not there, and sometimes the devotees around you also don't know what to do, and something is not directly referenced in scripture, then that's where one's sincere practice in Krishna consciousness and praying to Krishna, that what is that? Jnana-deepena bhashvata. Tesham evanukampartam aham ajnanajam tamha nasyam atma bhavasto jnana-deepena bhashvata. And Krishna sitting within the heart will give the intelligence and tell us what to do. But really, actually the process of Krishna consciousness, you're very safe, very protected. Devotee will never perish if he follows these things. Krishna assures.
One aspect that in a recent lecture Guru Maharaj mentions was at the end of the lecture he mentioned something, and this is kind of relating with the scientists, that if one group starts to consider themselves like better than another group and pushes that forward, it starts to create fall down in the devotee's life. So that even in devotional service, is that kind of the same thing with the scientists? They would like we see America, but there's like political things and psychological things, and that also exists within devotional societies, in which one group is better than another.
Yeah, I mean it's the same materialistic mentality that just plays out in different ways, right? So, yeah. Anything else? Yes.
I was thinking also how much this evolutionary theory gets into every aspect of it, because ultimately it makes you a consumer. That's the whole point.
Yeah.
And I was thinking that even as it's ingrained not only in your school, because the school books teach you, but it's also ingrained in the movies, like you were saying, the Hollywood and cartoons.
It's just everywhere.
I was saying growing up, Rishi and I myself were talking about this recently, that one cartoon which was like one of the best when I was growing up was this thing called X-Men, and it's all about how you just evolve, and it ingrains within the person a mentality that this is what the future is going to be.
Yeah.
And all of this entire media, everything is meant. It's just an expansion of the slaughterhouse. The scientists are designing this.
So the same thing. Then you build it upon with Star Wars and other things like this, and you can see the level of brainwashing that actually happens and how they all work together in perpetrating this illusion. In fact, that's one of the reasons why you see the back to the land, sort of this whole concept that you have to go back to the land, and why Srila Prabhupada's this farm projects is such an important thing, is because in this whole movement of back to the land, it actually flies in the face, because as developed and advanced human beings who evolve, you're supposed to use modern agricultural mechanisms and supposed to be in favor of robots and all this kind of like advancement and technology and all of these things. We should be proud of these things. We should go into this more, and we should be really interested. And then you have, but But no, on the other hand, you see that there's large populations of people today, in spite of all their brainwashing, it's come to the point where even the scientists in the current environment and the capitalists, they're struggling to keep this environment together. There's so much discontent. That's why a natural environment, and what we want to do by trying to have simple living and high thinking, it makes such a huge difference to one's Krishna consciousness and how people can be God conscious. That even if they may not be full-on devotees, it's going to be a lot better than what the general class of people that we meet out there. And so that's why book distribution is where we have to get the intelligent people, like the devotees we have right now, who are able to see Krishna's hand in everything. Just like Prabhupada says here, we're intelligent enough to see who made the brain of the scientist. Only devotees will see these things. Who made the brain of the scientist? And so you have to be quite intelligent. But most people aren't intelligent. But we need to go and pick out these intelligent people on our book distribution. You see Prabhupada, there are a lot of quotes there, Prabhupada, talking about distributing books and getting intelligent people. And you emphasize book distribution in schools and universities, because we need these intelligent people to come together and try to see how we can pull out of this environment for the benefit of the mass of people who are not intelligent, who need to be surrounded by a relative environment where they can perceive Krishna more easily, even through their materialistic vision. And that's the purpose of the other 50% of Srila Prabhupada's mission. So, yeah.
You were mentioning how even if things don't go as per plan well on books, you should see the hand of Krishna. Sometimes, we experience, last time it happened in Nepal, where the local devotees came and they were trying to, get us out of there. We didn't leave, which was the right thing to do, but if someone is confused, okay, should we leave or not, then
ask the Sankirtan leader.
Yeah.
Ask the Sankirtan leader what to do. The thing is, the way you understand, again, you have to understand, what does Krishna want me to do? And that should be understood through Guru, Sadhu and Shastra. But also we understand that, yes, some people have been given responsibilities, they've been asked to take some decisions, and they should be allowed to execute that. And sometimes it's not very clear, and we will learn through experience also. It's not that when we understand Krishna's plan, it doesn't mean that but Krishna can also teach us by making us make a few mistakes. Because if we do everything right, then that also will develop pride. So we have to make a few mistakes also, so that we understand the difference between us and Krishna. Krishna does everything right. We do most things wrong, and some things right. And whatever we do right happens by Krishna's mercy. So, so yes, just... Okay. It's a little time out. I guess we could have 5 minutes isn't going to kill us. Yes, Janardana Krishna Prabhu.
You were speaking about these examples from the Nature's IQ, and you were showing those videos, and you were talking about how somehow this must get communicated through the rest of the animal society. So at least that's one of the scientific theories, that somehow they must have,
which they can never prove,
communicated this. But one other thing the scientists say is that these are just random genetic
mutations. Right.
That is, it's a mutation that happens, and that mutation happens to act in a way where that specific type of that species is less likely to die. So then that mutated gene is the one that gets passed down. So then the other ones, they have that same, I guess they call it random mutation.
Yeah, it's called natural selection, and then, yeah.
So how do we, I understood the point that you were making. I was on that path, but how do we combat this point in that same regard that these things they were passed down because it was just something that changed and that allowed that species to be less likely?
Yeah, they argue about that in that book as well. This book is fantastic. Devotees should definitely read that book. It's really good. It's very interesting also. I feel like, a little kid, going through these, it's great. I feel like, because I used to like reading books like that. And so, it's very tastefully presented with all the photos and colors but basically it's the same thing, like random mutations. But one of the points about nature IQ is that randomness has to be random. But when it's so prevalent among so many species across different types of living organisms, it doesn't become random anymore. What is random? So right now there's one chair there, there's one chair there. That's random. Now, if there's chairs that have been lined up and kept, and somebody says that's random, they're a fool. How is it random? So one of the things that the Nature's IQ presents is the entire book is about this. And there's just like species after species after species. This is way too many for you to call it random. The thing is, in our science textbook, they explain 1 or 2, 3 examples and leave it at that. And then you just think that, oh yeah, that's how it must be. But when you have so many, then it's not random anymore.
Irreducible.
Yeah, irreducible complexity. It doesn't become random anymore. And when it's not just one mutated gene that can develop that, but it's like a few things need to be mutated at the same time to develop a certain type of feature that this creature has, and that isn't random at that point. I mean, random, one gene can change, 2 genes can change. How can 10 genes change at the same time just to produce this particular anomaly?
So many, it's so complex. More and more. These cells and genes and this kind of stuff, it's so complex. The more and more microscopes advance, the more and more deep, it's infinitely complex.
It's very
It's not
complex.
just like 10, like growing an extra arm, it's not just like 10 genes changing, it's like
That's
an inconceivable amount of.
That's the thing they don't teach in school. They don't say that you need to have so many things to actually have this. They speak of one little example and one simple thing, and there are some simple examples in nature, but they're way more complicated examples. What they do, they explain the simple example, and then they ascribe it to the complicated thing, while for them to create a test tube baby or an artificial sperm, they have to go through so many little changes and all kinds of like changes to the structure of the chromosomes and all this kind of stuff, while it's just happening in our body without us even realizing it. And that's how humans reproduce. And they're saying this is all mutated, some silly idea like this. It's crazy, absolute nonsense.
Another thing about
Okay, that's the last comment. We're ending there.
Another thing about irreducible complexity is that it's a system, like the body, like a cell. It's a whole system, and if one component is
Not present,
missing or
everything
malfunctions,
doesn't
it throws off the whole system.
Yeah.
And so it's irreducibly complex. It's like infinitely precise, and if something goes wrong, the whole thing actually collapses.
This kind of talk is considered unscientific by scientists. It's so crazy. The Christian apologists, they several of the scientists, they're the ones who primarily push this. There's one Discovery of Science Center or something, DSC or something like this. They're really into this, and they do a pretty good job actually. If you look at their Instagram, their videos are very educational. But yeah, anyways, the devotees haven't really done much in that sphere. Prabhupada wanted us to do it. If we had done Prabhupada, we would have been way ahead of these people.
Raj is very impressed with their work in pushing back the
Yeah. Relentless. And what do they have? They have the Bible, which doesn't have much in it. Doesn't have much at all. We have Bhagavad Gita, we have Srimad Bhagavatam, we won't do anything,
You're making a lot of progress.
Yeah.
Younger people are taking up Krishna.
Yeah. Because people are getting more and more frustrated with this world. Hare Krishna. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. Manchata Padrubhyasya Kripa Sindhubhyo Viśva-vismaye.